Welcome back, everyone. I'm Paco.
And I'm Deb. And this is the Real Twin Flame Talk,
where we get real about love and connection.
Hello and welcome to our podcast, The Real Twin Flame Talk with Paco and Déborah. We are twin flames, Paco and
Déborah.
And we are in union over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And we will share with you in this podcast how our stories unfolded, how
we came together, what brought us here.
Exactly. And we also share with you tips for you on your twin flame journey and what you can do to come into your twin flame union too.
Mm-hmm.
And in this first episode, we start how the journey began.
Yeah.
Déborah's story.
Oh, yeah. Every story has a beginning. And I will be sharing with mine.
Yeah. So, Déborah, how does your story started? How did you came to twin flames, to this?
How did I discover the universe of twin flame?
Yeah.
And twin flames universe, which is the teaching who helped me have you in my life.
Yeah, exactly. How does your story started?
Well, it began back in 2017. I was having a very steady job as a secretary in Argentinian's central bank. Been there for like 5 years. Was okay, not my dream job, but it was just providing enough. Had a relatively nice income. I was just moved into my apartment for the first time. I was living with my own kid, my son from a previous relationship. And everything seemed to be relatively going well. I did have it was missing a certain piece. And I wasn't sure what that piece still was. And at the same time, I was also already considering moving from Argentina to Germany. That was kind of like a project that I was working on for the past 2 years. And I was working on getting my citizenship, my European citizenship, that I could stay in Germany for more than just 3 months, or having to find a working visa. That was a little bit more complicated at the time for me. So I was just getting papers and getting clear, okay, how am I gonna do this? I'm a single mom. I have to I'm thinking about moving to a foreign country. I don't know anyone. I don't have family. I don't have friends. It's just kind of like me and my soul and my kid and my bags. And by the end of 2016, at the beginning of 2017, I was kind of starting to feel like things weren't really moving. I wanted to work in the arts field in Buenos Aires. I was sending resumes left and right. Nothing was really happening. The bank I was working at had a museum. There was no opening there, even though I was constantly speaking with the people in this department. And something was kind of telling me, okay, if doors are closing here, and I had people that I know in Germany through couch surfing that I was having at that time, people over in my place. And they were all saying, you have very high chances of making a life there. It's you have a degree, you have experience as a secretary, you're learning the language. You could even become a Spanish teacher, which is something highly looked for right now. It's highly valued. A lot of people want to learn the language, so you can make money with that too. And I was like, okay, I don't seem to be having a lot of opportunities in Buenos Aires, but apparently I seem to be having a lot in Germany. And my papers were on the way. I was still being worked through. And it got to this point where I was like, okay, I think nothing is moving because I'm not setting on a date to just do the moving. So I said, okay, I'm just gonna work until March. I will take the whole month of April to sell whatever I can, get rid of most of my stuff. I couldn't really afford moving abroad. It didn't make any sense. In May, I will just hop on the plane and I will move. I already had a place where to stay for the first 3 months. I have a nice savings polster that I could use, a little mattress with my savings that I could just get by almost a year without working, even though, of course, the intention was to find a job. And I was like, okay, I just set a date. On May, I will just go. So after I did all this, I presented my letter of resignation. And like looking back, it's very funny. At the moment, it was not funny at all. I was like, 2 days later, it hit me. What if my papers don't really come through and I don't get to stay in Germany for more than just 3 months? And I was like, oh, like, of course, I completely went bananas. I was starting to freak out. I was like, okay, I still have my savings. I can get around a couple of months, but this is not like an ideal situation at all. And I got like a little desperate. I'm not gonna lie. And I started looking for another job. I was like, okay, the solution would be I just go back to being a secretary. I just wait for my papers to come through. And then when everything is said and done, I can just move. And nothing was happening again. Like no job was being offered to me, even though I was going to interviews. And months were going by. I was using my savings, and I was like, okay, again, I have to make a decision here. And I was like, okay, I can just sustain this until July, August the most. And if by then I don't get anything, then I will just go on a plane and pray that everything works out in the 3 months that I can stay there. And meanwhile, I just learned how much of a chance I have of finding a job and kind of like setting roots. So I did. In September, I flew with my son. We stayed in Germany. We were meeting with the people we knew from before. I was learning, okay, what it takes to make a living there and learning all this stuff and still praying that my citizenship will come through. Still nothing was happening. And in December, I was like completely crashed. On the 2nd of December was our flight back to Buenos Aires. There was no chance for us to stay there. The papers were nowhere to be found. Nobody was giving me like an actual answer, even though I knocked on the lawyers in Poland. I went to their office and I was asking what was happening because they were talking. It was taking longer than they said to me that it was gonna take. And they couldn't really give me a real answer. So the only chance for me was to go back to where I came from. I was not gonna lie, I was feeling rather crushed. It's like, okay, all my dreams, everything that I worked for 2 years was turning to dust. I went to my mom's place because that's the only place I could stay. And I remember like it had to make sense to me. I needed to understand like how was it possible that I was following like what to me were all the signs. Like, okay, I'm just like taking all the steps and everything was like supposedly gonna work out. And it quite didn't. And I started going over the internet and just trying to find some answer. Whichever answer was gonna work out, I just couldn't like drop it and, oh, okay, this is just what happened. Oh, oops. And I started to dig and I encountered the term dark night of the soul, which is basically a life crisis that you go through, which things start to rearrange in your life in a way that you would not expect.
And in all what you shared, you also met the person, or?
Yeah, in the middle of all this, it's also like a very important piece. Thank you, Paco. You reminded me of that. When I resigned and I was in the middle of my like the biggest life crisis I had at that up until that point, in one of my couch surfing offers, I met this guy, and we had like this, like we hit it off very well. It was like a very nice connection. We were getting along very well. And it also was very strange how it unfolded. So he was supposed to stay with me for just 3 days, and those 3 days became 2 weeks. And I was also like, okay, this is not normal. And the situations or the experiences we were having with this person were for me kind of like out of the ordinary. And in a sense, it felt like there was this one moment I remember we were alone in the apartment. My son was in kindergarten at that point.
So he was a couch surfer at that time.
Yeah, he was a couch surfer, and he was kind of like backpacking through South America, like most of the couch surfers I hosted were. And I remember like being with him and just chilling and saying like, wow, it feels like God answered to all my prayers, because I've been looking for my one person since I am a child, in truth. So it was like every possible thing thrown at me all at once. I had on one side like the biggest crisis with like not having my job anymore and wanting to migrate and not being able to, and on the other hand I had like this person that we had like a very nice connection with, and it felt like, oh, I finally met the one. And when he went on to resume his trip and I was resuming my project of migrating, all that kind of like magic was starting to fade off. And I was like, okay, we are not talking anymore. I'm sending messages and like nothing is happening. Again, I couldn't understand. Like I needed answers. Again, I just needed to understand how was possible that all of this was happening all at once at the same time. And that's how I started to come to these terms, like I was sharing before, like the night dark of the soul. I was like, okay, I'm going through a life crisis now. But what about this person? Oh, you may have met your twin flame. And that's how I found the term. That's how I knew that twin flames were out there. And of course, out of curiosity, I'm a very curious person, I wanted to know what the flippity flap a twin flame was.
So it was kind of your first aha moment.
It was my first aha moment. Yeah.
Kind of like dark night of the soul and twin flame.
It started to make sense.
Okay.
Like it started to, like the pieces were starting to fall together, because there's no logical explanation, I don't function. Like my brain doesn't compute. I need to know what's going on. Like what's the purpose of this, at least certain experiences that I was going through. And so, okay, this person seems to be my twin flame. Okay. And I started learning like what twin flames were and what their purpose was and how the connection felt and how the relationship would look like. I started to look a little bit like, okay, this is not really looking very much like what I'm experiencing right now. This guy is not talking to me. Like, how is it that the person that I always dreamed of spending my life with is not talking to me? And so that's when I discovered Chef and Shelia's body of work. I met them on YouTube. I started watching their videos. And I was like, okay, what they are saying makes a lot of sense here. What else do they got? Oh, we have a book. Oh, okay. I just bought it on Amazon. Read it in, I think, not more than 2 days. I actually devoured the book. I didn't read it.
The Twin Flames Finding Your Ultimate Lover book.
Yes. And they were explaining the dynamic in a very clear, scientific, easy way to understand. And it was like, this person, this twin flame person, is a perfect mirror of you. They are showing you how you are in your relationship to yourself and in your relationship to the divine or God. That depends on however anyone wants to call it. And so I learned their mirror exercise and started, I did it once. I just was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. It was like, of course, this could be just random, two people random, like talking about something. I have no idea what this is. Maybe they are kind of like a little cuckoo. And I tried the first mirror exercise and I remember finding so much peace afterwards. I was like, oh, this is for real. Like this works.
So your second aha moment.
I was like, okay, this is good. This is going on a nice direction. And I started applying it again and again and again. And it always brought me to these places of like really deep peace, of feeling better about something. And I particularly wasn't having a lot of fun at that time. I was living with my mom. She was chronically ill. It was a smaller apartment that I was used to. I was still navigating through the grief of having like what my dream was kind of like shatter into the floor. And suddenly finding something that was making me feel better, I was like, okay, I'm surprised for good. And I was kind of like taking the mirror exercise constantly. Okay, this person is not talking to me. I don't feel good about it. I will just do the mirror exercise on it. Oh, it means I'm not talking to myself in some way. And I started developing a better relationship with myself and things started to change too. I remember doing the inner, like the mirror exercise with my mom's heating thing in her apartment. And I was getting upset with it because it wasn't warming up the water when I was taking a shower, and so I was getting super angry. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the mirror exercise with this too. And either it changed and started to work out without anybody having fixed it or anything, or I wasn't so upset about it anymore. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a game changer. So I was like, okay, taking steps, understanding what was happening. I was finally putting that to rest. Okay, I'm in the twin flame journey now. I understand what's going on. I know what I have to do. I can relax here now. And so I started doing that. I just started practicing the mirror exercise. I started paying attention to what was happening, the stories that other people were sharing in their community. They have a twin flame open forum. Like in Facebook, there's a group. It's the Twin Flame Universe Open Forum. So I was connecting with people who were actually going through very similar experiences as I was. And they were recommending a lot of stuff. And I kind of became part of their community as well. And yeah, that's basically it. I just started applying their teachings, and I started seeing that it functioned, that it works. And it opened a door to even realizing that I wanted to do more with my life, which I already knew when I was working as a secretary in the bank. I was like having always this constant thought of, I don't really want to die just like being a secretary. I don't want to die in this job. I want to do like something more meaningful. But I didn't know what that meaningful thing was.
I understand. So your desire and choose to be more than you were at that moment
Yeah.
also brought you to your romance. It was kind of intertwined. Your kind of life purpose and your twin flame journey.
Yeah, if I gotta be completely honest, and I go back to that like started point of my journey, I was feeling rather unfulfilled in both my romantic life and my
Career.
working life, kind
Okay.
of like my career life. So I started doing what I was doing at work just to get enough money that I could pay for my studies in the arts field, which is not like it tends to be a relatively expensive career or course of studies. And romantically speaking, was kind of like the same. I was in the relationship with my kid's father, and we were kind of like on and off for a few years. And I was like, this is not the person that I'm looking for. It was kind of like the third relationship I was in. And I admit it, I'm not a very patient person. I know what I want, and I kind of want it as fast as possible. So when I discovered like this is not it, this is not my person. I just want my person. I want my like life partner. Like, where is he? So I feel like life kind of picked it up that I was very unfulfilled in almost every aspect of my life. And it picked it up that I wanted to get to where I wanted to go as fast as possible. And so I feel that like now, of course, with all these years of experience, and like that crisis was the best thing that could have happened to me. It was not comfortable, I'm gonna admit it. Like it had its challenges. I'm not gonna say I was like super happy or throwing a party about it, but it did got me to where I'm at today. And like it did brought me to my twin flame. He's sitting right next to me creating this podcast together. So I'm very happy about that. And how we came together, I'm gonna just leave it for another chapter. But yeah, like I don't think I would change that for anything in the world. I feel like I would go through it all over again. I would make like different choices, but the path will still have been the same.
So even you kind of went through a dark night of the soul, everything kind of collapsed in your life.
Yeah, it was like a lot of people like to call it like the tower moment. You know, the tarot card, like the tower, everything is breaking down, but it's making way for something new that's much better than you would thought. Like that was my experience. It
Kind of
turned
new
out
life.
so much better than I thought.
Mhm.
So much better than I thought, in every possible way.
So the one thing you did in this time of crisis were not giving up.
No, just find something that would be a solution for me. I was never the kind of person who would give up, and that was also part of like a conversation I was having with my mom at the time when I was kind of like getting clear whether I hop on a plane, I just go to Germany or not, or like what to do. And I remember saying to my mom, I would rather be the person who dies trying than the person who doesn't do it and lives her whole life like, what if? What if I had gone there for 3 months? Would I have gotten my papers and maybe have the chance to stay? What if there is no what if? You either do it or you just don't. But when you don't do it, you kind of miss out on having the life that you desire or you always wanted to have.
Also in your romantic field.
Yeah, of course. Like what I have with you, it's what I've been dreaming of having with someone since I am 6 years old, if not younger. And I got it now. And we're building something very beautiful together.
So this crisis kind in your life were guiding you to this new life.
Yeah, a God-centered life, a peaceful life. Sound like it. I didn't know that at the time, but like if you are not building things from a peaceful place, at the core of who you are, that whatever you're making, it's very difficult that it's gonna stay with you. So I feel like that's what life has been kind of like helping me with, like building something sustainable, something that stays with me. That it doesn't matter where I go, it would just go with me. And it doesn't like it's not through, oh, do I keep my dinner table or not when I move? It's something more meaningful than that. It goes beyond like, oh, I have this apartment, I'm gonna live in this apartment until I die. It's not about that. It's about having, I don't know, for me it's like this amazing relationship we are building. It doesn't break down. It always gets stronger. It always, like, we go always deeper into love. We learn to support each other always in a better way. Like I would not trade that for anything. If you ask me, I don't care if I live under a bridge with you. Just as long as you're there with me building this life together, I don't care. And that was worth everything that I thought was important at that time. I thought that the apartment I was moving in was like the best thing that could happen. Doesn't compare at all with what we are having here together. And the same with my job. I'm not working a dream job right now. I'm working in a drugstore, in a very big drugstore. But I still feel very happy about what I do. Like I still like going there, even though I have my challenges, of course, like who doesn't? Challenges are part of life. I don't think anyone gets away with murder in that, like you will still have to work through something, but it still feels good. So like this was how my journey began. And I guess that what I'm looking to share with you, it's an invitation. It's an invitation to just embrace whatever changes are happening. I know that Twin Flame Journey can be a little like a rocky road, but it's very worth walking. So if you are finding this podcast or you're finding the Twin Flame topic for the very first time and you're like completely lost, you don't know what to do, we have a lot of tools. We have a community that supports us, will support you in your journey to just take the step and get clear. Maybe what we have here is what you want too.
Yeah, and if you would like to go deeper with Twin Flames Universe or getting to know us better, you will find the links in the description. And this was our first episode of our podcast, The Real Twin Flame Talk, with Paco and Déborah. And in the next episode,
it will be Paco's turn to share how he got on the journey. I'm looking forward to that.
It's the kind of the divine masculine, the masculine side of the story, how everything started for me. So stay tuned for our second episode of our podcast.
And that's our time for today. Remember to keep that flame alive. Join us next time on The Real Twin Flame Talk.